Does it mean that the XRP 700X multiplier is now hitting $20.00 with these? We'll discuss that in today's video, but first we have a lot of other topics to cover. There are a lot of political events going on that will have a big impact on the markets. There have been a lot of developments in the cryptocurrency world lately, including statements from Trump regarding tariffs and much more. These developments will have a significant effect on XRP's short-term performance. To be clear, XRP has had a great run over the past few days. However, we will reach our peak in the coming days at the latest, and then there will be a minor correction because of certain things that need to be addressed right now. Thus, I would want to begin by discussing India and Pakistan. In a previous video, I made a very quick reference of this topic. As everyone is aware, tensions between these two countries have been growing, and Donald Trump claims that a complete and immediate ceasefire mediated by the US has been achieved, with two nuclear-armed countries that could possibly do a tremendous deal of harm to the entire world if things escalate to a certain point. This is going to be fantastic because, as we all know, wars have a significant negative impact on markets and create a great deal of uncertainty. However, the US president claims that a complete and immediate ceasefire has been achieved. However, this is stressful. Even though we obviously wanted this, it is completely absurd that a nuclear conflict between two nations may break out at any time and impact the entire world due to a disagreement over a border or natural resources. Therefore, this is something that we will undoubtedly need to focus on more going forward, because of course a conflict between two nuclear armed countries will have a significant impact on all of our investments and of course our lives, which are also very important. There is currently a great deal of ambiguity surrounding trade negotiations between the United States and China. The Chinese delegation attending trade talks with the US was seen leaving the venue, and it was unclear if they would return. This led to speculation that the delegation was taking a lunch break or cancelling the talks. However, Reuters is reporting that the Chinese delegation has returned after a brief break, indicating that the trade war has turned into a reality TV show. In summary, the current relationship between China and the United States of America is quite intriguing. The United States is announcing to the world that it will continue to impose tariffs because it does not require Chinese goods. China claims that the US is being incredibly unfair, misusing reciprocal tariffs, and not genuinely interested in engaging in dialogue. It's fascinating to watch because, in essence, both sides claim that the other side is lying and that the other side is the villain in this case. And no one is sure who to believe. People are clearly worried about what is going on here because they don't know how it will turn out, who is telling the truth, or what the outcome of today's trade discussions will be. Additionally, this will have a significant effect on the markets. Basically, the markets could soar if a trade agreement isn't reached. However, in the event that nothing occurs and no progress is made, it is feasible that the markets will once more see a slight collapse. As we can see, Lutnick, the US Commerce Secretary, has a really intriguing viewpoint. He asserts that following negotiations this weekend, there is no possibility that tariffs on China would be stopped. Additionally, Lutnick says he is uncertain when final negotiations with China will occur and that Trump will maintain high tariffs on China. The day that China and the US are scheduled to be discussing trade negotiations, he is now stating that he is uncertain when the last discussions will take place. In other words, he is essentially stating that no conclusion will be reached before the negotiations have even started, which is really intriguing to me because China has been saying that the US is not even attempting to negotiate with us, and Trump has been saying that we are very close to reaching an agreement with China. On the other hand, Lutnick has come out and stated that there will not be a deal the day before a deal is supposed to be reached because the trade talks are so fascinating. Whatever inferences you guys want to make from that, I'll let you guys do it. But it seems to me that China may be onto something. However, I'll let you all make your own decisions regarding all of that. Having said that, it is clear that the markets have performed well over the past few days. We've had 3 consecutive fantastic green days, with the most notable being May 8 when we had an almost 10% increase. The next day, we saw a lot of price movement, but our gain was only about 0.72%. And so far it is, another fantastic day. The XRP is officially at $2.40 a coin, and we are up 2.73%. Many of you are asking me, Levi, after all, we were overbought from about April 11 to April 29. We had a couple of weeks there, essentially 3 weeks, and now we're getting close to that again, after briefly being oversold, perhaps for 2 or 3 days, right? So we had a good chance to buy some things around there, and now we're back up. What I think is likely to happen here is that we'll be overbought until a major catalyst occurs in the market. Obviously, the two biggest catalysts that we have right now are India and Pakistan, and then there are the trade talks between China and the US. The two biggest catalysts are those two. We basically need to watch for the following. If the United States lowers tariffs against China and they find a trade deal, that will be very bullish for the markets. If there isn't any progress here, we're likely to expect it to occur over the next 3 weeks. To be quite clear, we might end up dragging out a bit longer than that. As I just showed you guys, we were there for over 3 weeks the last time we were there. So why am I more optimistic about the upcoming 3 weeks and the following several months? As you can see, there is some uncertainty, but I am really optimistic about the coming months for a number of reasons, including the fact that China needs to print money. In Europe, I actually think the XRP will be rising astronomically. They need to print money. Canada, Australia, and pretty much every other major economy in the world need to print money in order to get liquidity into their system. We all know what happens with cryptocurrency once the monetary supply increases. However, there are also a lot of significant events taking place here, such as the competition between the EU and the US in the digital asset race. This is a sign that the market is expanding, and I think it's at its highest point ever because there is a lot of money moving around and many people are trying to profit from it. I just want to play this clip briefly for you all to see how quickly the EU is beginning to enter this race in comparison to Europe in terms of regulation, not in my opinion. Additionally, it's a fascinating question and it's intriguing that you're posing it. Actually, Europe is in the lead because we have a law called MACAR, correct? It is a good regulation that is currently in force. And Europe even has a leg up when compared to the fragmentation of regulations in the US. Naturally, with all of the political and dynamic support in the US, we must now ensure that we don't lag behind once more. Yes, excellent opinion. I'm going to play this for you all very quickly. Ownership and transfer. Determining who owns a house is extremely difficult, as anyone who has ever purchased a home knows. The process of documenting the sale involves a great deal of documentation. The delivery of the money and, of course, the ability to demonstrate asset ownership are both susceptible to fraud. By tracking asset ownership through digital distributed ledgers, tokenization can solve all of those issues. It also makes things easier, such as using an asset as collateral. If you wish to borrow against it, the loan provider can more readily ascertain that you are the owner of the item. Correct, yes. Tokenization of real-world assets is essentially what he has discussed here, correct? Digitally proving ownership, having rapid access to a perfectly safe and transparent method of doing transactions, and not having to worry about fraud are all advantages. That's what cryptocurrency offers. And it also eliminates a lot of the intermediary. It eliminates the necessity of banks. It eliminates the necessity for all of these attorneys. Many of these procedures might simply be automated, which would greatly improve the end user's experience. The fact that Ripple is developing all of their products with this in mind is the reason I'm so enthusiastic about the future they're creating. You actually can't claim the same about other cryptocurrencies because they are developing their products with real-world use cases in mind. Therefore, Ripple is truly unique for a variety of reasons, and because the XRP token that powers it is obviously very special as well. That's why I trade XRP, and that's why we do pretty well. It essentially beats the rest of the market. So once more, guys, I just want to remind you to join Crypto Crusaders if you want to be able to see my trades. Yes, you sign up on one of these two exchanges, BitInX or BTCC, but it's entirely up to you which one you choose. I want to keep in mind that both of them are currently offering a 10% deposit bonus, and that's just for using my link. You also get some amazing discounts. Naturally, you gain access after completing the registration and deposit process. So, gentlemen, go ahead and take a look at the amazing community we've created by signing up for